Hello, and welcome to Cindy's Corner. Who doesn't love Curious George? He's such a cute little monkey. He's got himself in a mess of trouble with our book today. If you've got Curious George, Tadpole trouble, go get it so you can follow along. You know what a tadpole is? Tell your neighbor if you know what a tadpole is. How many were right? That's right. A tadpole becomes a frog. All right. For my AR testers, this is a level 2-8 for your testing. Our title page is Curious George, Tadpole Trouble. This is an adaptation by Mark London Williams, based on the television series written by Bruce Akiyama. Who's that? That's our Curious George. George was exploring a lake with his friend Bill. George was a good explorer and always very curious. He was especially curious about tadpoles. It looks like he's catching some tadpoles in his jar there. Bill told George he could be in charge of the tadpoles they found. George took tadpole watching very seriously. He watched them swim in their glass bowl. He fed them boiled lettuce. He took them for a swim in the lake. At the time, it seemed like good exercise for the tadpoles. He let them go in the lake. You think he's getting them back? Uh-oh, poor George. When the tadpoles did not come back, George started to worry. What would Bill say? We had to find them. George spent hours at the lake. He found turtles and water beetles and minnows, but no tadpoles. He's got his goggles on. Every time George would visit the lake, he would look for the tadpoles. Several weeks went by. Finally, he found something that looked like a tadpole, but it had legs and almost no tail. George let it go. Was that a tadpole? A few weeks after that, George took a walk in the city to think about his tadpole problem. He was going back to the lake soon. Bill would be very disappointed if George had lost the tadpoles. George walked so long. He found himself in front of the museum. He saw a butterfly that reminded him of being at the lake. He followed it, followed the butterfly. The butterfly flew into the museum, and George kept following, past all kinds of exhibits. There was a special display about creatures that live around lakes. George knew about many of them, like turtles, minnows, lizards, and tadpoles. The picture of the body of the baby tadpole reminded him of his own tadpoles. Next to it was one of the funny creatures George had seen in the lake. It had legs and a smaller tail. Now he understood. The creatures with legs were tadpoles, too. His friends had not vanished. They were changing and growing up. George was so excited. He left the museum without finishing the exhibit tour. So here we have the eggs. Then we have just the tadpole itself. And then it starts to grow legs and its tail becomes smaller. It's got its back legs. As soon as George got back to the lake, he looked for his missing friends, especially the ones with little legs and almost no tails. But they were not there either. This time, George could find only frogs. Lots and lots of frogs. What a good idea, George, Bill said, seeing the empty jar. Look at all the frogs. You decided to release the tadpoles into their natural habitat so we could watch them grow into frogs. You're not only curious, you're smart too. He got it, didn't he? Did he fool Bill? Yes, he did. Let's take a picture of you and the frogs together. George smiles. Okay, all the frogs. Now what's he doing? He's trying to jump like a frog, isn't he? Have you ever played leapfrog? All right, now he's jumping like a frog. Can you jump like a frog? Make sure you ask your teacher first and see if you can jump around the room like a frog. Go ribbit, ribbit. Now all fours go up at once. So you're not just on your back two legs, or your legs, not your front feet, which is your arms. And I want to see in the comments if you can draw me the 4 stages. You got to remember, if not, you're going to have to go back. Look in your book. The 4 stages of a frog. You can do your little paper. You can get you a little piece of paper like this and put 1, 2, 3, 4 and cut it. Up here would be how it is first. Can't do this one. You can put the eggs and then the tadpole and then the one with the back legs and the tail getting shorter. And then the 4th one would be what? The front legs as well. Okay? I can't wait to see your stages of a frog. Okay? Share with me in the comments. And if you liked our Curious George Tadpole Trouble, give it a thumbs up. And if you liked acting like a frog, and maybe at recess or something, you go outside in the pretty weather, you can play leapfrog. And what happens is you get like a line, even. You get like 3 people in this line and 3 people over here, or however many people you have, and you split it up. And then you have, and everybody gets down, put your head down, get your bottom down on your knees and cover up. And then you kind of jump like a frog over everybody, and then you get in the front. And then the back one does the same thing. Okay? Play leapfrog. You can have leapfrog races. All kinds of things you can do with frogs. Okay? If you do some of those, or if you get to leap around in the room, tell me about that. Teachers, share with me if you let your kids play leapfrog. just for a few minutes. Give them a brain break. I hope you enjoyed this, kids. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe so you'll be my friend out there and you won't miss the fun stuff on Cindy's Corner. Have a great day. And if your teacher lets you play leapfrog, you better give her a big old hug and tell her you love her.